everyone, my name is Kayla. This week I'm going to be showing you how you can age paper with coffee. There are methods where you can age it with tea instead of coffee, but I didn't have any tea available at the moment, so I just used some coffee. So for this, all you're going to need is a little bit of coffee, the paper that you're going to be using, and a container that will be big enough to hold the paper and soak in the coffee. So first of all, for the paper, I would suggest using cardstock. I haven't actually been able to age paper that's just printer paper. Thicker paper usually tends to get darker anyway. So if you have it available, I would suggest using cardstock as compared to printer paper or any other kind of thin paper. So as for the actual coffee itself, there isn't really any recipe or anything like that. You just want to put some coffee grounds or some instant coffee in some water. Let it soak in for a little bit. You don't have to wait till it dissolves or anything. But you do want to make sure that the water itself is dark enough to do anything to the paper. Sometimes, like a couple minutes after you put the coffee beans in, it won't actually be dark enough to stain the paper. So like I said, there's no recipe, but if you're looking for exact numbers, I think I used about a scoop and a half of coffee grounds, and I just filled up the little container here until I thought that it was enough to cover the entire sheet. So once you've got your coffee grounds and they've been soaking in the water for a little while, all you have to do is take your paper and then just put it in the water with the coffee grounds, and you kind of want to push it down like that so that the water with the coffee in it goes over top of the paper itself. Now the paper I'm using is a little bit bigger than 8.5 by 11, so it doesn't completely reach the edges, but that's just fine by me. You just gotta put it in there so it covers up the entire page. And then once you've got that, you just want to go ahead and let it sit for a while. Now, how long you let it sit kind of depends on what kind of paper you're using, what kind of coffee you're using, even how dark you want the paper to be. I'd suggest maybe 5-10 minutes at first, and then if you take it out and it's too light, you can always let it dry and do it again. But I'm just going to go ahead and let mine sit for about 15 minutes. Okay, so my paper has been soaking for about 20 minutes, so I'm just going to go ahead and take it out. When you do this, you want to be very careful because the paper is wet, and it's very fragile when it's wet. So I'm just going to go ahead and take it out. Just like that. And once it's like this, if you want to, you can just go ahead and rinse off the excess coffee grounds on it if you're using coffee grounds. But once you've got it at this point, you want to go ahead and hang it somewhere, preferably on like a clothesline or some string that you just tape up if you need to do that. But if you don't have anything to hang it up with, you could just put it on a dish drainer and let it drip dry there. If you're impatient, you could also use a hair dryer, but I think it dries a lot better and a lot flatter if you hang it up. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so my paper's been drying for a couple hours now. It's still nowhere near being done. You can see it's still a little bit leathery-esque, but it is pretty close. I'd say it'd take at least 24 hours to dry completely and be like normal paper again, instead of just kind of floppy like that. But I did just want to show you the differences between the stained paper and what we started out with. So this is just from one dump. Depending on how dark the paper ends up can depend on, like I said earlier, the coffee you're using or how long you let it soak in there. But that is what I have from just 15 minutes and one dunk. So if you want it to be darker than that, you could always let it soak for longer, or you could do it more than once. Like right now, it's dry enough that I could put it back in the water again and then hang it up if I wanted to. But I'm pretty happy with the way it is just like this. But yeah, like I said at the beginning of this video, there's a lot of different ways that you can stain paper with coffee. This is just what I think is the easiest way. You could always just brew coffee and pour it over top. You don't actually have to mix coffee grounds in the water. You could use tea, like I said earlier, if you have tea bags and no coffee. You just have to brew the tea and then pour it in a container like I had the coffee in earlier, and essentially just do the same method. But I've noticed with tea that it doesn't tend to get quite as dark as coffee grounds makes the paper. So if you're looking for something more subtle, I would definitely suggest tea. But that is going to be it for this week's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.